Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about the new Remo Drive album, Normal Everyday Degradation. Remo Drive are a Minnesota-based pop punk and emo band, been into these guys for a few years now. Now I know they had a couple of first EPs, wasn't really into them at the time, wasn't really feeling it, but around the time of their greatest hits album, I really feel like I got these guys. There were elements of power pop here, alternative rock as well. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say this was the most forward-thinking or progressive sound, but honestly, they packed so much personality and energy into their songs, I kind of fell in love really quickly. And in the time ever since their greatest hits debut album with like their pop music EP, it's kind of evident that the boys have been really working on their songwriting. Like literally, the singles that have been leading up to this album have been some of the best tracks they've penned to date. Let's chat about this new album. This album starts off with $2, and right off the bat, it's much crunchier and almost heavier for the band. But like I thought going into this album, and I could tell from a distance, their songwriting has become immaculate. It's melodic and it's sort of mopey, it goes very well with their sound. Plus, I really love that guitar solo as well. Honestly, like, this is seriously rad. Remo Drive sound legitimately great. It's just the sort of anthemic intro that I really needed to hear from them. The grind, on the other hand, is much more upbeat and punky. Once again, to say that Remo Drive are really doing anything that's genre-defying would be a lie. Like, instrumentally, this is incredibly straightforward. But I love the very quivering vocals that sound like they're just going to break at any second. Yet they end up absolutely soaring for the chorus. It's a great dynamic. I just can't help but get caught up in tracks like this. The Devil, on the other hand, isn't as punky, but a little heavier once again. But even on these very slow tunes, Remo Drive just crams so much personality in. And this chorus, dare I say it, it is my favorite of the bunch. This is such a catchy tune. And most importantly, these melodies just kind of sound like they're coming very easily to the band. Like, it is just so obvious they have been working on their songwriting so much. And Halos later on in the album might be the most chaotic track here. It's hard to place, as a matter of fact, and hearing these very airy vocals over this heavy riff and chaotic drums is a really interesting dynamic once again. Like, it's moments like this that make me want to shut my mouth and say that, okay, maybe they are doing a couple of progressive things here and there. And the chorus is just so intense and practically surreal. And a good chunk of the rest of this album are just nothing short of just very tasteful pop punk and emo throwbacks. Take, for example, Dog. Like, listening to this track makes me feel like I'm literally listening to like some throwback Midwest emo band at their height of their popularity. I love how just unsure these vocals are. They're quivering at every step. Like, this is practically Weezer Blue album levels of like unsurety. But it's really charming, as a matter of fact. It just makes me really feel like I know Remo Drive. Ezra and Marla, on the other hand, is a super refreshing tune. Once again, very straightforward. Even though some of these later tracks don't have some of the masterful lyrics as some of the earlier tunes, I feel like this is just a tremendous sound nonetheless. It's such a determined track, and the inclusion of some of the horns here, like, wow, that is good. Like, give me more of that. Around the Sun for a sort of stripped down and slower tune is really great as well. I love the difference between the grimy guitars and just this overall very carefree attitude that Remo Drive show off here. Like, there's almost a vintage pop flair to this track that's just really interesting. Now, personally, I do like to hear the band a little bit more upbeat, but that's just me being picky. This is a great pop punk tune. And The Truth is a pretty freaking great closer here. I love the much more direct approach, and lyrically, in every way, this does seem like, once again, like a throwback. Like, I haven't gotten to them yet, but there are a handful of sort of awkward tunes here that are a little bit too awkward. But then I hear straightforward tracks like this, and I can't help but just smile. As a matter of fact, I can't help but be incredibly impressed with the blend here between pop punk and emo and these incredible pop hooks. Like, this is one of the best balanced tracks here, and for a few short minutes, I feel like Remo Drive really get it. But there are a few tracks here that bring this album down for me. It's moments like Shaken, where I feel like the band sound a little bit too unsure of themselves. No pun intended, this track is pretty shaky. Like, I'm not nearly as into this instrumental. As a matter of fact, I feel like the band didn't know what they wanted to do here. Vocally, this is a fine track. I don't have any complaints about it or anything. But from all angles, this is like one of the weakest tracks here. Like, as far as the complete package goes, which I thought they had down, this is just a big step back. Separate beds, once again, it's just really awkward. Like, for most of this album, I thought there was a real charm to just how sort of awkward and shaky some of their vocals comes off at times. But here, outside of this big chorus, this is horrendous. And it's a real shame because the chorus here is freaking gigantic, and that one big guitar riff we get there is gnarly. But outside of that, this really isn't very well written, especially not compared to the rest of the album. And those synths floating through the background, that's something that I should be really excited about, really did nothing for me. And Mirror is my least favorite track here. Once again, Remo Drive here, looking like they're going for a much more aggressive sound. And that's fine, but vocally, once again, I just feel like they're just so unsure of themselves at times. Yes, it's very charming in certain occasions, but here it just does not sound intentional or charming, to say the least. It's just awkward, and it just ends off this album on a very unlikable note for me. So, if I'm being real, Remo Drive have a great sound, especially in modern pop punk and emo, where there's only like a handful of bands that I could say are really killing it right now. Their songwriting over the years has improved 100-fold. They are writing the catchiest and most impressive tracks that they've ever written to date. Like, there are some serious earworms on here, but there's a couple of short moments here where I feel like they come off maybe a little too awkward still, and just are still a little bit too unsure of the direction that they want to go. But now I'm feeling a strong 7 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. Until next time, have a great day, guys.